go. Hi.
Hello.
Sorry for the delay. Instagram was working on our account, so.
Oh, no, it's all good. It's all good. I'm sorry. I had to go and update my app. You're like, ooh, and I was like, oh, dang.
Oh, you're good.
So it's all good. We're good.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. So how's it been being, in the pandemic, trying to get music out?
It's been good. More so recently, I would say. Towards the beginning, I didn't have any sort of like little home studio or anything like that that I could work out of. So that was kind of challenging, kind of figuring that out, because I was actually going to be releasing like an EP and some other things at the beginning of the year. But obviously it didn't feel like the timing was right, with everything going on in the world. So I ended up learning how to like vocal produce and do all that on my own. So recently I've been starting to put out the work of that, which has been really fun and really exciting. So I would say good right now. It's good. I learned some new things, I'm in the role. So yeah.
You made it work because, we've been in the pandemic for it's been a year. So
I know.
Work. And I really think it's interesting that you said you had to learn how to vocal produce because you've also taught yourself how to play different musicians, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, I play the drums, guitar, and piano.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Which one would you say is like your favorite instrument to play?
Ooh, that's so tough. Okay, I would say probably overall piano, because I've been playing that the longest. And that's where I usually start most of my songs off of some sort of melodic something that I come up with on the piano. But then I would say my second favorite, like a close second favorite, is drums, because that's my favorite to do live, because I'll open up the show with the drums or do like a little riff. So that one's always really fun to do too. But that one's newer, so I still have to give it to like the OG piano. Yeah, stay loyal.
Yeah. What would you say was the hardest instrument to learn? Because that's kind of hard to teach all these different instruments, and you're good at them now. So which one would you say was the hardest?
Ooh. Well, to me, piano's fairly easy, because the thing with piano is I don't know how to explain it very well, but it kind of repeats. So as it goes up the piano, like it's literally the same 8, whatever it is, over and over again. So once you kind of know one section, it kind of applies throughout the whole piano. So it's very consistent. Where guitar, I would say, is the hardest, because even though the guitar has repetitive things in it, it still variates, and it's like hard to like know which, like, oh, this is this one, and oh, this is this. So it's just a lot of remembering. But and I think it's because I've been playing piano for so long that I'm just used to the way that is, and so guitar is kind of the opposite but the same, if that makes sense. So it doesn't really make sense, which is why I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I would say guitar. I'm still trying to figure that one out. That one I haven't mastered yet.
Get there. We already know you will. What would you say is like your biggest music influence, or if you have multiple, what are your music influences?
You mean like artists or people, or
artists, people? Who's that person or people that made you want to get into music?
That's a good question too. So many. I would say, well, I learned so many things from different people, and like honest songs sometimes be like in the elevator, and I'll hear like an elevator song, I'm like, oh, that's a cool melody, and like I'll take that and like try to play around with that. So I kind of get inspiration from everywhere. But artists, I would say I love Bruno. Bruno Mars. He's my favorite every time. He's just such a performer. He also plays multiple instruments too, and he's amazing at all of them. So he's incredible. I would also say, obviously, Beyonce, Alicia Keys too. She kind of was the one who inspired me to, when I was younger and I first started getting into music, to incorporate my piano and songwriting like into my music. So I would say her. And then also like right now, like I'm very like, I love Giveon. Like oh my God, don't even get me started. I love him, and I think like his sound and everything is just so cool, and like lyrically, and the way he like mixes like poetry but was still just also so effortless too at the same time. Like it's so casual but still so like interesting the way he says things, and it's just very inspiring. So I've been listening to his new album and everything right now, like just absorbing it all and being like, oh,
amazing.
Yeah.
So you said Bruno Mars was one of your influences. How do you feel about the collaboration with him and Anderson .Paak?
I love it.
I thought it was great. I thought it was great.
I love it. It's so good. I like, first of all, Bruno can do anything. Like, it could be like that one Kanye West, the scoop diddy poop, and like that, and he could do that, and I would still think it was the greatest thing on earth.
Right.
So Bruno can do no wrong. But I thought it was really great, and I love Anderson too. I think he's incredible. He also plays like the drums and like at the same time, and it's like insane. He's amazing. So I feel like the two of them, like I didn't expect it, like for the two of them, but it made so much sense. I was like, duh. Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah. So you're an independent artist right now, right? Yes. So how has the journey been for you being an independent artist? And you're 19 years old, right? Mm-hmm. So that's even another challenge. So how's that been for you?
It's been interesting. It's been really great having, I think during this period of time, using being independent to find myself truly without too many outside opinions or other things kind of drawing me in one direction or another. So I've really been able to use this time to really dig deep and really think about like what I want to say, like what I want to do, you know, like where do I want to go? Like what's my message? And so in the past, like, you know, I obviously I'm very loyal and I love like listening to people around me and I love getting multiple opinions, but sometimes it can also do the opposite, you know, instead of opening your brain, you can just kind of, you can lose yourself a little like through that and putting more value in other people's opinions versus your own. So I kind of needed to reset, and I feel like I've definitely been able to do that, which has been really, really great, especially like coming into, you know, my age and just everything and just growing up and starting very young and then into that transition now to, you know, being a young woman and, you know, having different things to say in the way that I say it. And so it's been really, really great. It's been kind of very freeing. And I'm really excited and ready for this next chapter. So I'm very grateful. Yeah.
That's good. So you mentioned you want to, you know, have your own message and you want to have your own just way in this journey. What would you say your message is to your fans when you write music, when you put out music? Like, what is your message?
I think I would just say like honesty and transparency. I feel like in the past, like kind of, you know, touching base on like what I said before, there were some things that, you know, just being younger and like learning, like you live and you learn. And, you know, I would be a little bit scared to be open or vulnerable or just say things how they were. And I feel like now I've kind of let go of that protective shield. And I'm just kind of like, you know, and it doesn't even have to be things that are like deep and super overly vulnerable. It's just kind of like, hey, like I was feeling this today. I'm just going to say it how it is in my song. And I feel like that's the best way to connect with people. And is because we're all very different, but all very similar and the same, you know? And I think the best way is just to be honest with, you know, your music and I just hope that people can hopefully resonate with it in some sort of way, even if it's an upbeat, like lighthearted song, you know, or something super, super deep. So I think in my music, I just try to always think about what's the most authentic thing for me, because I feel like that's going to also resonate and hopefully, you know, come across as the most authentic version to people as well. So yeah, I would say that.
Absolutely. Yeah. What was that turning point for you that made you want to break out of your shell?
Well, there were some things like in my personal life when I was right around when I was turning 16 years old. And there are some things like in my personal life and then also in, you know, in my career world that I was turning 16 and I just knew that the place I was in currently, the light where I wanted it to go at the end of the tunnel, if that makes sense. And I just knew that there had to be some sort of a shift or something that I had to do in order to get myself out of that negative place. And so I did, because I didn't want to look back and whatever, like now where I am now and be in that same situation and be like, have regrets and wish I would have done something different, or, you know what I mean? So it was kind of that. I didn't want to regret anything. And I felt like I was making a good decision. So I kind of, you know, moved on from some people and got rid of some relationships and things in my life that were not feeling great. And then I kind of found myself through like the independentness and just kind of like kind of going back to square one, like resetting. And like, even though it was scary and I was like, this is weird, this is different, you know, because you get used to having that crutch in a way. And then you let go and it's kind of hard at first. And then that's kind of why my album Redemption, when I released it, when I was, you know, right around that time, the whole purpose of that album was, you know, it wasn't about like, you know, stream anything like that. I just wanted to put out a piece of work that I was like, hey, this is what I'm going through right now. And like, this is kind of a therapeutic project and album for me because this is going to help me move on to this next phase. And it really did that. So I would say, yeah, like it was just a tough time that I was going through. And I just knew that I had to make a change.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the process for writing your music?
Ooh, I would say, I mean, it varies every single day, but my current like process, I would say I usually would start, well, I usually have like an idea or like something that happens. Like somebody texts me something, I'm like, I love that word or that phrase. Like, ooh, like let's try to make a song out of this. So I start with that and then I come up with chords or a loop or some sort of melodic. Some people are more lyrical first, like they'll write the whole song and then add melodies to that after, where I'm the opposite. Like I have to come up with the whole like melody structure and everything before I can put lyrics to it. So I'll usually start on the piano, come up with a loop, write to that, and then I'll kind of build piece by piece. I usually start with like the chorus and I get that part out of it because that's always the most challenging for me.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of like story tell up into like what you want to say leading up to that part. And then I go back and then I sit with it for like hours and hours and just intensely nitpick it and, you know, try to make it as perfect as possible. So yeah, I like to move fairly fast though, because I feel like if I don't finish it, I'm not going to ever finish it, you know, like I have and then there's going to be another idea and then I'm like, oh, what about that song? So, I always try to finish it within like a day. So, it's fairly quick. Yeah.
Really quick. I've never heard that before. I was going to ask too, like, how long do you typically spend in the studio?
Yeah.
Maybe it varies. So that makes sense.
Yeah, it varies. I mean, sometimes when I'm working with other producers or writers, we'll usually spend a whole day, like we'll just write over piano chords or something really simple so we have time to write. And then we'll spend the whole day just writing. And then the next day I'll go home and like record the vocals, or we'll come up with like another day we can get together. So sometimes it does take a little bit longer, but usually when it's just like me by myself, I try to like get it done as quick as possible.
That's good. That's
yeah.
Really, I need to have those same skills because I'm in college and I'm
nice.
Really bad. Out of all the musicians out there in the world, what is one musician, or it could be multiple, that you would love to work with one day?
Ooh, that's so hard. Oh, that's such a hard question. Oh my goodness. Well, okay, first of all, Bruno Mars, like done. I have to. Like that's number one. We can do So Sonic Part 2, you know, call me Bruno. But I would say him. I would say, ooh, this is so hard. I would say him. I'd say right now, like it would be Giveon or like Brent Faiyaz. Yeah, he'd be a really cool one. I also love Kehlani, and I love her. So those would be a couple more. I think like those right now would have to be like my top picks, but there's so many. Like I could literally go on for an hour and like and people.
And what's your reasoning as to why you want to work with those specific artists?
Well, Bruno's Bruno. He's, you know, he's just incredible. Like I'm like, hey, I'm just grateful to be able to like sit here and learn from you, you know? I mean, Giveon, like I said, I love him. I love Brent too. I think he's amazing. I think he's super, again, like his lyricism and like like the way that says things and translates them is so cool. It's just so unique and different. And I love that. I feel like I would learn a lot from just kind of seeing what he does. It'd just be a cool collaboration. And I also, who was I say? Oh, her. She's a badass. Like she like her guitar and her like bait and everything. I'm just like, girl, like she's amazing. So I feel like maybe I could like do the drums. She could do like a little bass action, you know. And then Kehlani, like I followed her since day one, since like America's Got Talent, like when she was on that day. Yeah, like she's incredible. I love her, and she can sing her face off too. So. I would say, yeah, all of them, they're all amazing in their own right. So, yeah.
Definitely. So, with your long list of accomplishments, you know, you've sung at national anthems, you've been on Billboard charts. What would you say is your biggest accomplishment?
Ooh, you got all the good questions. I would say, to be honest, I don't really have like a biggest accomplishment that I would say like on a level, like an accolade or an award or anything like that. I would say like honestly, like my biggest accomplishment so far, I think my ability to stay true to who I am through whatever life kind of throws at me, I would say. I think, or just navigating. I think just navigating through it all would be something that I feel very like proud of and grateful for, because it is very, very challenging. Yeah. And just in life, like in general, like it's hard, you know, to pick the right path per se, you know, and try to figure out what makes the most sense, not only for now, but also for long term, in every aspect. And I feel like I'm very like methodical about like the way that I like think about things. And also like too, there's part of you just have to kind of follow your heart and just kind of like let go. And I'm very grateful to have, you know, my mom, who's I'm so close with, and she kind of helps me, you know, lead me on the right path and help me make decisions that I'll later be proud of. And, you know, so I would say that I would honestly say just continue to keep on going. I would say would definitely be something that I'm, you know, very, very grateful for.
That's really good.
Were
you always into music when you were younger? Like
no one in my family does anything musical like at all. Like, ooh, my light just went out. But no, like no one in my family does anything musical at all. So when I discovered like my love for music, I was 9 years old, and it was completely random. So I was in this talent show. They asked me to like play piano, or they asked me to sing. I was gonna play piano, and I was like, and then I sang for them, and then I fell in love with it. So it was completely random, but it was one of those things where like the minute that I did it, I knew that that's what I wanted to do forever.
That's good.
Yeah.
So one last question. What would you say in your journey right now, after everything you've done, what is next for you?
Ooh, so much. Right now I have so much music on the way. I've a lot of stuff that I've been holding on to, and I feel like the time is right to finally consistently like putting out more stuff. And a lot of it too is like Superman, my first single release that I released this year. Literally I did it 2 weeks before it came out. So I think like I'm just very excited to just be as real as possible and just put out music that feels very real and organic to me right now. And just share that with everyone. So I'm really excited for that. There's a lot more to come. I definitely also want to put something together of like an album EP sort in the future. And also hopefully tour when touring is back and safe and everyone's able to do that. So I'm definitely looking forward to that as well. And just continuing to grow and, you know, see where life takes us all.
Right. Yeah. Well, I just want to say I love the message that you have. I think
thank you.
Honest and being transparent is very, very important. And your music definitely speaks that. So again, thank you for coming on. I'm sure your fans appreciate it. We appreciate it. And we can't wait to see where your journey, you know, takes you.
Oh, of course. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me.
Where is the buzz?
Oh, yeah.
Where is the buzz? You said was mine.